The injury news to Landon Dickerson's meniscus just saved the Eagles a Super Bowl run in 2025. I'll tell you why coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to this Monday edition of the show. It is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. The Philadelphia Eagles just dodged a massive bullet. So at the open practice yesterday at Lincoln Financial Field, which was completely sold out, shout out to all you Eagles fans. I mean, that is absolutely incredible. It seemed like it was a great night until it wasn't. Landon Dickerson went down, was carted off. Today we learned that it was a meniscus injury. At first, when Adam Schefter tweeted out the news, we didn't know the timetable. We didn't know if it was season ending. Meniscus injuries can be a couple weeks. It could be 6 months long. Like, they vary in severity. Thankfully, the football gods bless the Eagles with some more injury luck. Landon Dickerson's injury, it will require a minor meniscus surgery, or I think a treatment. I don't know if they said surgery specifically, but it's not going to keep him out for the year, and he could be ready for the start of the season. He could be ready for the season opener against the Dallas Cowboys, so he is officially listed as week to week. And for me, I know the Philadelphia Eagles have the deepest and the most talented roster in the entire NFL on both offense and defense. I know there are stars on both sides of this offensive line. Jeff Stoutland is so good at elevating offensive line talent. So if Dickerson was out for the entire season, would they still be a contender? Absolutely. But Landon Dickerson is one of the most underrated instrumental pieces to this team being a Super Bowl favorite. Not just a NFC East favorite, a playoff team that could still win a title. And I think, losing a left guard normally wouldn't cost you the season. But Dickerson is so underrated to what the passing offense is able to do, certainly the running offense. And I do think losing Dickerson suddenly puts your Super Bowl odds not in jeopardy, but it significantly impacts it. I think more than people on X today were giving him credit for, like his true value to this football team. Because Landon Dickerson, again, he's one of the heartbeats of this football team. Vocally, I mean, he's one of the guys giving the rah-rah speeches every single game. Like, vocally, inside that locker room, he is one of the guys, one of the heartbeats of this football team from a culture perspective. But then again, he's also a top 5 player at his position. He is such a good pass blocker. I mean, listen to these running stats, including the playoffs last year. Saquon Barkley ran directly behind Landon Dickerson 97 times for 688 rushing yards. Running behind Landon Dickerson last year, Saquon Barkley averaged 7.1 yards per carry. 455 of those yards came before contact. So the vast majority of those yards, and we know Saquon last year was so good at getting more meat off the bones and creating for himself, but behind Landon Dickerson, 455 of 688 yards were before contact. Landon Dickerson was getting that guy 5 to 7 yards up the field before Saquon even had to do anything. So for me, again, guards, are they more replaceable than quarterbacks, tackles, defensive linemen, pass rushers? Like, sure, especially in the Eagles' situation, their setup where they have elite tackles and I think the best offensive line coach in football. But the drop-off between Landon Dickerson and who would be starting in place of him was massive. And that could cause real issues. Why it kind of saves you from not being a Super Bowl favorite anymore, or makes sure it guarantees that you're still the favorite, is because you could have went from having Landon Dickerson and Mekhi Becton as your starters last year, left and right guard, 2 incredibly elite players last year. You could have went from that to having, potentially, if this was like a full-blown torn meniscus, you could have went from Dickerson and Becton last year, to Tyler Steen, and I think it would have been probably Matt Pryor. Like, if Dickerson was out full-time for the entire 2025 season, I personally would have liked to see a rookie get a chance, like a Miles Hinton or a Drew Kendall. I think they would have probably ended up playing Matt Pryor, keeping Tyler Steen at right guard. And that, Steen and Pryor, going from Dickerson and Becton to Steen and Pryor, is such a massive drop-off. And then if you have to start, dealing with issues in the middle of your offensive line, the interior, your tackles are set. And the middle is set with Cam Jurgens at center, Lane and Mailata at left and right tackle. But if you were going to have some issues now, especially in pass pro, at left and right guard, that's a problem. Getting pressure on the interior, quarterbacks hate that. Even mobile quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts, if you can get interior pressure on a quarterback significantly, it can wreck ball games. It's why the Eagles have invested so much in the defensive tackle position with Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, Javon Hargrave. Bringing in so many different guys. Back in the day, trading for Timmy Jernigan and signing Malik Jackson and trading for Michael Bennett. Having interior pass rushers is almost just as valuable as an elite edge, if not more valuable. So if you're bleeding on the inside of your offensive line, which I don't want to go that far and say the Eagles were going to be suddenly the 2020 version of their line. But again, the drop-off of Dickerson and Becton to Steen and Pryor is substantial. So I truly think the Eagles dodged a massive bullet today with this injury not being all that serious. Even if he misses a game or two, I thought yesterday he was done for the year. That's the way it seemed with the way he was limping off the field, being carried off, then getting carted off. You hear meniscus, you're like, oh no. Landon Dickerson's had 2 torn ACLs already in his career, his left leg and his right leg. So they dodged a bullet. And again, they would still be a Super Bowl contender, still one of the favorites in the NFC East favorite. But would they be the favorite in the NFL? I don't know. I think Dickerson's value is a little bit underrated, not just league-wide, but in Philadelphia circles as well. He is crucial to what they do on and off the football field. So luckily, this injury, it will require a procedure. He will be week to week. He's going to miss the rest of the offseason. He might be back, though, in time for that Dallas opener. I wouldn't even rush him, though, honestly. If he can be back week 2, 3, or 4, and he's fully healthy, if he's ready to go for Dallas, of course, play him. That's a huge game week 1 against your division rival. Starting the season 1-0 instead of 0-1, I think, is one of the more underrated parts of being a contender. Starting fast in a season is so instrumental. So if he can play, he can play, but I'm just glad he's going to be back within the first month of the year because I thought it was going to be season ending, and that would have been a big loss. Jeff Stoutland can make the most of what he has, and they have so much talent across this roster, and a lot of teams are dealing with injuries to important positions, to important starters, but you can't lose Landon Dickerson, and luckily he's going to be back pretty much to start the year. If not, it's going to be a few games in. Number 69 will be on the football field. But hey, this just shows you, the football gods kind of blessed us today with some luck. But this is the reality in the NFL that Eagles fans, we have not been used to since 2020. The Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni era of Eagles football has been so healthy, and they have had so much injury luck. And a lot of that is credit to them, the new medical staff, and Howie Roseman deciding to go a lot younger. Nick Sirianni making sure his guys are healthy throughout the offseason, not playing guys too much in the preseason. It's calculated. They wanted to fix the problems of 2017 to 2020. But it's also been a lot of luck, too. The fact that they were fully healthy in 2 Super Bowl runs in the last 3 years, that's not the reality the majority of the time. And we saw that in Philadelphia in 2017, 2018, 2019. It finally just was too much to handle in 2020. Remember, they had 14 different offensive line combinations that year. That's the reality of the NFL. The Detroit Lions are dealing with it right now. The San Francisco 49ers dealt with it last year. You have to be able to overcome these kinds of things and remain a contender. They were able to do that in 17 to a degree in 18 and 19. Eventually, you're going to deal with that kind of adversity again. Even if it's not Landon Dickerson, it could be another player. But luckily, it isn't Dickerson. Because again, I think he's one of the most underrated players, not only on this football team, but in the entire NFL. He just wears so many different hats. Even look at him in the NFC title, moving over to center in place of Cam Jurgens, injured, battling at center in the NFC Championship. This guy is crucial to what they do, and the Eagles dodged a massive, massive bullet today. All right, guys, coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Yesterday's practice wasn't all that bad. The 3 long-term pillars of your defense, they shined. I'll tell you who that was coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we are brought to you by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. The NFL season is almost here. Kickoff is just a few weeks away. Eagles, Cowboys. That means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and my friends, we're playing in Yahoo Fantasy. We've been doing a league together in Yahoo since 2009. Our draft is this Saturday, and we do 13 teams, 2 keepers, very custom-specific scoring formats, roster formats that we need Yahoo to pull through for us. No other site can really do what they do. And to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is actually dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues as a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team, they get eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. And if you're not into that, you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league as well. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Landon Dickerson not out for the year. We all were holding our breath at the link yesterday in the open practice that was sold out in South Philly, which is awesome. Luckily, again, that night could have been a disaster if Dickerson was out for the year. His meniscus injury will make him week to week, but should be back for, if not the season opener, one of those first few games, either against Dallas or Kansas City. Should be back within the first couple weeks of the season. Was carted off. You hear meniscus, leg injury to a guy that's had a lot of injuries to his legs. You think the worst. Luckily, the best case scenario played out. But there were some positives about yesterday. Like Jihaad Campbell continues to shine. Jalen Hurts had a beautiful touchdown in the right corner of the end zone in a bucket over Cooper DeJean and Sidney Brown to Devontae Smith for an insane touchdown. The defensive line really wrecked that practice. But what I took away from that practice was just how the 3 likely faces of your defense long term, the face of each level of your defense, the defensive line, the linebacking core, and the secondary, Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, and Jihaad Campbell, specifically those 3. And yeah, right now the 3 pillars of your defense are Jalen Carter, Quinyon Mitchell, and Zach Bond. But for the long-term future, it's Carter, Quinyon, and Campbell. The best part of last night was those 3 players, your last 3 first-round picks, were your 3 best players, in my opinion, in that practice. And that is just absolutely massive because, again, like those are the 3 guys that are going to carry you year after year. Like, you're not going to be able to keep everybody on both sides of the ball, but you hope to keep a good core intact on both sides. Who are going to get the big contracts on defense? It's going to be Jalen Carter. I think you could project Nolan Smith to get one of those deals. I think eventually, long-term, Jihaad Campbell will be one of those guys if he stays on the trajectory that he's been on, at least from the last couple weeks, and his potential that he had coming out of Alabama. Quinyon Mitchell looks like an all-pro cornerback coming into year 2, was a Rookie of the Year finalist last year. He's going to get a $30+ million a year bag as well. To see those guys consistently, not just last night, but throughout the summer, being potentially your 3 best players on defense, if not, like, certainly top 5, that is such good. Like, Howie Roseman's got to be over the moon. Like, these are his last 3 first-round picks, and Quinyon Mitchell, to see him specifically shutting down Devontae Smith last night, that was awesome because I said it on the podcast probably a month ago. One of the most important matchups of the offseason was Kelee Ringo against Devontae Smith, not A.J. Brown. Why? Because that's the kind of receiver that Kelee Ringo struggles with. Devontae Smith in practice, he's one of the best route runners in football. That kind of guy in practice is so hard to guard, especially when you don't have shoulder pads on. To see Quinyon Mitchell going up against a top 5, in my opinion, route runner in football, to shadow that guy the way he did yesterday, to play in his hip pocket, running the routes essentially for him, to make plays on the ball. He had an amazing pass breakup where he dives in front of Devontae Smith. Like, to do that against such a sticky, slippery player with some of the best footwork that the NFL has ever seen at the receiver position. You see the Eagles social media account post Devontae on the ladder all the time. Like, Quinyon, he looked last night like an elite 10+ year veteran. And he's been looking like that all offseason against A.J. Brown, against Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson. We've said it on the podcast. I'm predicting it right now. Quinyon Mitchell, I'm not even saying he's going to be just an all-pro like James Bradbury in 2022 was a second-teamer. I'm going to make the prediction right now. Quinyon Mitchell is going to be a first-team all-pro corner this year. I truly believe it because I think the interceptions are going to come. I think he's going to get at least 3 to 4 this year. And if he's covering guys like he covered Devontae Smith yesterday on multiple reps, I mean, his ability to mirror receivers, I cannot believe at one point in the last 2 years, there were genuine concerns about this guy's ability to play man coverage. Like, he is showing every single week that was just a ridiculous narrative during the draft season. Like, I think he's going to be one of the best man coverage corners in football this year. And a big takeaway that I saw from that practice too last night, he was shadowing Devontae Smith at times. Like, he was moving across the formation. He was playing left corner. He was playing right corner. Vic Fangio, I think, plans on putting Quinyon on an island a lot this year. And I'm not going to lie. Again, Jalen Carter, not surprised at all to see him balling out. Quinyon Mitchell, not surprised at all. But Jihaad Campbell, I will say the fact that he has been one of their top 3 players in practice on defense, you can make the argument on both sides of the ball over the last couple of weeks and in the preseason. Like, he nearly got that diving pick. I thought he played really well against the run. No missed tackles. To see him work through traffic already and to finish these plays, I'm a little surprised how far along he looks. And I love Jihaad Campbell. I said it when they drafted him. This is one of the most exciting picks that I've had with the Eagles, that I've experienced. Like, he is the exact kind of player that I've been lobbying for this defense to draft for years. That Swiss Army knife, versatile pass rusher / linebacker tweener. Like, that kind of guy that you can move across the formation. I've wanted that player for so long. But I did think it was going to be a work in progress because he is still new to the inside linebacker position. I didn't know if they were going to play him as an edge rusher or an inside linebacker. Like, he's still raw in both spots. And for him to look like the veteran that he's looked like an inside linebacker, specifically inside linebacker, like, he looks like and he moves like a stand-up. And I think he'll end up doing both. I think he truly will be that Swiss Army knife in its purest definition. But he looks like out there, the way he sheds blocks, the way he finishes tackles, his length and his ability to diagnose a play pre- and post-snap already, it's pretty advanced. And it makes sense why Vic Fangio is throwing so much on his plate. Fangio said it last week, yeah, we're probably victims of putting too much on his plate, but it's a good sign that he can handle it, because they did the same thing last year with Quinyon Mitchell, and that was foreshadowing of an elite rookie year that was to come. Like, they were making Quinyon Mitchell play inside, play outside, man coverage, zone. At Toledo, he primarily played deep outside zone coverage, and that's really it. But Fangio will not put a lot on your plate if he doesn't think you can handle it. He put a lot on Quinyon Mitchell's plate. He was a Rookie of the Year finalist. He put a lot on Cooper DeJean's plate. Rookie of the Year finalist. He's putting a lot on Jihaad Campbell right now, and I think that's good foreshadowing for a really good rookie year. I think he's going to be the starter week 1 next to Zach Bond, and if I'm Nakobe Dean, I'm stressing. I am working my butt off to get back from injury, because I don't know if you're going to be able to take number 30 off the football field. And by the way, can we get him a new number? I think he'll probably keep it, but I'm not a fan of 30. I want Jihaad Campbell to have a cooler number. Let's get him number 0. I know it's taken, but I would love to see a cooler number for sure. So a single-digit number, maybe. But Jihaad Campbell, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Carter, the 3 long-term pillars of each level of the defense, in my opinion, they were the best players on the field Sunday night. Come away from the stadium thinking that's got to feel pretty good for Howie Roseman. Again, those are your last 3 first-round picks. Howie has done such a tremendous job of rebuilding this defense, finally with long-term pieces. For so long, he invested so many top picks in the offense. Finally, he said, I'm going to build this defense with sustained success, sustained pieces as well. I'm not going to just put Band-Aid signings and older veterans around each position. And he's reaping the benefits of it. It won him a Super Bowl last year, and it looks like it's going to keep him in contention long-term as well with this organization. All right, guys, we'll wrap up this Monday edition of Locked On Eagles. Coming up next, I did start to wonder after watching some of that preseason tape, seeing Jacorian Bennett get some first-team reps yesterday at corner. I do wonder if Vic Fangio is going to need Cooper DeJean to play on the outside. I'll tell you why I'm starting to think that way. Coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. This Monday edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we are brought to you by Gametime. Look, we've all been there, logging on early, waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show that you've been dying to see. Well, live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Plus, you can get a panoramic view of your seat so you know on top of the good prices, there are no surprises as well with your view. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets, Philadelphia, Eagles tickets, all that and more with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONNFL. That's LOCKEDON NFL in all capital letters for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. We are wrapping up this Monday edition of the podcast. And, thinking about Jihaad Campbell today on the show, like seeing how good, again, he was at practice, how intense he is. Like, they got to hold this guy back at some point. I mean, he's going to kill somebody out there. It's a great sign, though. Dallas Goedert said it in his press conference a few weeks ago. We'd rather have him go too hard and have to pull him back than have to push him to try harder. And that's a great sign. But anyway, I was thinking about Jihaad Campbell and how, again, as I said in segment 2, he looks like a stand-up linebacker. He looks like he belongs on the inside as a stand-up. And we've been trying to figure out like what he is long-term. I think for the team, I made the take on the show, for the team, it's probably best that he develops as an edge rusher. But for the player, I think Campbell's potential is best as an inside linebacker. That started to get me thinking about Cooper DeJean. And again, I'm not giving up on Kelee Ringo yet after just one preseason game. But I'll tell you what, Adoree Jackson's tape was terrible. And again, yesterday, I thought he was getting beat over and over again. I'm standing on my take. Like, I just feel like I'm being confirmed every time I see him on the football field that my opinion of Adoree Jackson's not going to change, that I'm right on this. I don't think he has it anymore. I think he's shot. I don't think he can start for a Super Bowl contending team for 17-plus games. So it's not Adoree Jackson. Jacorian Bennett got first-team reps. Again, they just traded for him. Maybe he's your starter opposite Quinyon and Cooper DeJean. I'm not giving up on Kelee Ringo. But because Fangio, I don't think, truly believes in Ringo, because Adoree Jackson just looks completely shot, maybe it's Jacorian Bennett, but I do wonder if Fangio's saying, look, for the player, kind of like Jihaad Campbell, it's best if Cooper DeJean, for him, for his ceiling, it's best if he plays in the slot or as a slot safety hybrid. And Fangio's been playing him at safety a lot in base coverage. I wonder, though, for the team this year, and again, I like Kelee Ringo. I'm not giving up on him. But I wonder if they think it's just a better idea for 2025 if Cooper DeJean should play on the outside. It's Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean on the outside. And again, I think his ceiling is best as a slot, best as a safety slot hybrid, a Malcolm Jenkins type. He was the best slot corner in football last year when he was on the field. But I think for the team, I do wonder, unless you're going out there and signing Asante Samuel Jr. or trading for a guy that we haven't thought of. I say Greg Newsome's name like every show, but maybe somebody else as well. Unless they're doing that, Cooper DeJean might be your best option on the outside. And then in the slot, you're going to downgrade one of these spots no matter where Cooper DeJean goes. That other spot is going to be a downgrade. But would you rather have Cooper DeJean on the outside and have Drew Makuba play in the slot with Sidney Brown playing as a deep safety? Maybe it's Makuba in the slot, or it's Mac McWilliams, or it's Jacorian Bennett. Jacorian Bennett has played primarily as an outside corner, but he is 5'11". He's got good vertical speed. He's a little bit stiffer of a player, but so is Cooper DeJean. Maybe Jacorian Bennett can translate into the inside. Maybe that's... I just wonder, again, I'm not predicting it. I wouldn't do that. I'd play DeJean in the slot. But I am starting to wonder, if Ringo struggles again week 2, or if it's just too hot and cold for Fangio, if there's a lot of high highs, but a lot of low lows as well, and he's giving up big chunk plays, I wonder if Fangio's going to say, I just have to do it this year until Howie gives me another option. I have to put DeJean on the outside. And again, they just made a move. Jacorian Bennett is a player that I think they're excited about. Again, they gave him first-team reps already at that Ringo Adoree Jackson spot. But I wonder if they think, though, that DeJean is the best case here, and we'll put somebody else in the slot. We'll figure it out with, I think Makuba, from a physique standpoint, translates better to slot than safety. I think talent-wise, he fits better. Like, his style of play is better as a deep safety. But I wonder if they say, let's try that out. Drew Makuba, that's a better combination of DeJean and Makuba out there than DeJean and Ringo or Bennett or Adoree Jackson. I think it's an option maybe they're going to consider more, depending on how Jacorian Bennett looks this week. Again, this Saturday night when the Eagles play in their second preseason game against Cleveland, this is such an important game. Like, specifically, I'm going to be watching Ringo and Bennett so closely to see if Ringo can bounce back, to see what Bennett looks like if he is a legit contender to start. It's going to be a really important game for corner. If they look shaky again, I wouldn't be surprised if they start to look at Cooper playing on the outside, or if there's another trade in Howie Roseman's bag of tricks. We'll see. I'm still high on Bennett and Ringo, but it's just a thought for the future if they continue to struggle before the regular season at that third cornerback spot. I'm curious what they do, because I do think Drew Makuba could translate well to the slot. So curious to see what they do. But that's going to be a big thing we watch throughout the week, and we'll continue to cover it right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. 5 shows a week on all podcast platforms and on YouTube as well. Until tomorrow, thank you so much for downloading, watching, and listening, and making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Let's go, Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.